Hello and welcome to part 1 of our God Guide on the Guardian, Athena.
Yeah, Dude, what's wrong with your face?
I do not understand what you are talking about.
You've got this big grin. It's creepy.
Now that you mention it, I have not been able to feel my face for a few seconds. Perhaps this is excitement?
I don't know. I've never seen you like that. Please just stop.
Okay, is that better?
Yes, much better. I'm sort of glad we decided to stop using those faces. We might have scarred some of our viewers.
It could not have possibly been that bad.
Oh, really? Here, I took a picture.
It is time to prove that you are
Iron, are you okay?
If I ever do that again, do not hesitate to slap me.
Now that's a promise I can keep.
My apologies. Guardians get me very excited. My primary role is support, so I know nearly every Guardian quite intimately.
We kinda wasted time, so let's go straight into those abilities.
To begin, let us start with her passive. Reach grants Athena one ranged basic attack that uses additional magical power after every ability she uses. However, these do not stack, so using 2 abilities in a row does not give you 2 reach empowered basic attacks. These basic attacks can pass through minions and gods, so hitting an entire minion wave is quite easy. As a final note, keep in mind that you consume this special basic attack regardless of its success. Even if nothing is hit, you return to your standard melee attack.
Not much else to say there. Her first ability is called Preemptive Strike. It's a dash ability, so you'll go a short distance in a line at high speed. There are, however, some quirks.
First, the ability has to charge. It only takes a second, but this charge has both a sound effect and animation that come with it, which warns the enemy. Second, you can only dash through minions. If you hit a god, you deal damage and stop.
Really? That dash sounds... how do I put it? Subpar?
At first, yes, but it comes with a few bonuses. First, everyone that is damaged is slowed. It may not seem like much, but slower enemies are easier to hit. Second, as of the making of this video, Preemptive Strike's cooldown decreases at every rank. Upon further research, very few gods can leap or dash as frequently as Athena. Most gods are required to wait 15 seconds or more. At rank 5, Preemptive Strike recharges in 11 seconds. There is one last benefit. If Athena damages anyone during Preemptive Strike, she gains a stack called Block. Athena can only hold 3 block stacks at a time, and a single stack is consumed when she is hit with a basic attack. When a stack is consumed, you take no damage from that hit. Remember, this only applies to basic attacks, not abilities.
If played aggressively, this dash does sound like it has its uses. Be warned, the inability to dash through gods could prevent you from escaping, especially in tight areas like the jungle. Okay, her second ability is called Confound. Most people just call it her taunt.
Confound creates a cone of spears in front of Athena. These spears do not deal damage. Instead, enemies hit are forced to chase after Athena and use basic attacks if they are in range until the taunt debuff expires. The taunt debuff is very similar to the stun debuff, but while both temporarily remove the player's ability to control their god, a taunt forces the enemy to move closer to the inflictor rather than stay in place, making it arguably much stronger.
Her next ability is called Shield Wall. It's actually one of the strongest non-ultimate abilities in Smite when you're looking purely at damage, but there's a catch.
Shield Wall is a 2-stage ability, meaning it has a delayed second attack. Upon activation, you deal damage to everyone around you and leave behind a ring of warriors. After a 2-second delay, the soldiers will attack, causing more damage within the same circle. The circle does not follow you, but as you level up, it becomes easier to keep enemies inside of the circle, thanks in part to Confound. Skills mentions that Shield Wall is very powerful, and indeed it is. Even when you are building defense, Shield Wall inflicts moderate damage if allowed to hit twice.
Athena's ultimate is called Defender of Olympus. This ability allows Athena to teleport to one ally after a brief charge, which can save many lives in the span of a conquest match.
When activated, the game will ask you to aim and lock onto an ally. If you select an ally, you begin to charge and you will leap across the map to their location. Upon landing, you deal damage to every enemy near you within a surprisingly large radius. Keep in mind that you cannot aim this circle. Your ally determines if they can or wish to get close enough to an enemy in time. There is a nice incentive for them to be aggressive. For the duration of your charge and leap, your ally will take less damage. This does not last long, but with good communication, you might save their life. It also helps that they now have you as reinforcements.
And that's it for the abilities. Next on the list is her pros and cons. Let's start off with those pros. First would be her high mobility. Not only does she have a dash with a short cooldown, her ultimate is highly sought after for its ability to traverse the length of the map in mere seconds, assuming an ally is there already.
She is also more powerful than she first appears. A frequent ability combination Athena performs goes as follows. Dash into an enemy using preemptive strike, deal damage using shield wall, use confound to keep them in the ring, and wait for shield wall to strike a second time. Softer targets like hunters may lose a fourth of their health if performed successfully, even if you're using defensive items.
Another strength is her crowd control. The debuff taunt is arguably the strongest form of crowd control in Smite. Unless you count the madness debuffs her Ket uses, Athena is one of the only gods that uses it alongside the new mage Raijin. Technically there's a fear debuff, but that makes enemies run away rather than towards you. Also, since her taunt isn't in her ultimate, like Raijin, it can be used frequently.
And now is the moment where we have to admit Athena's flaws. I love playing as her, but she has to have weaknesses. Otherwise, she'd be the only guardian ever used. Her first con is actually her crowd control. I know Skillz just talked about how powerful her taunt is, but it's her only crowd control aside from a small slow. If she misses Confound, uses it at a bad time, or her allies do not take advantage of her success, she cannot use it for roughly 11 to 18 seconds, depending on how much cooldown reduction she has.
Her next flaw would be her lack of options. As great as Athena is, her specialty is being where the action is and taunting enemies. Her kit, or the sum of her abilities, is all about pulling this off, but since she only gets one passive, 3 abilities, and an ultimate, there's little room for much else. You'll often see guardians that can do a lot of things, such as Geb, who can give a shield to allies when his knockup is down, or Kabrakan, who has 2 ways to stun enemies. Athena, by comparison, is lacking in options.
To summarize her pros and cons before we conclude, Athena is mobile, strong, and good with crowd control, but she also has to wait a while before she can use her taunt again, and she cannot do much else until Confound refreshes.
And that's our guide on Athena's abilities, pros and cons. Join us again when we give you advice on how to decide which items to buy for her during a match.